You don't know how long you've been running. Your lungs burn, not in the clean way they used to after a set on stage, but in a raw, tearing way, like the air itself has turned against you. Branches whip at your arms. Thorns rake your calves. The forest closes in, dense and unforgiving, as if it's trying to erase you for trespassing. Ahead of you, white flashes through the green. The dog! Wait! Your voice cracks against the trees, swallowed before it can travel 10 feet. The border collie doesn't slow. He darts between trunks, sure-footed, purposeful, like he knows exactly where he's going, like he's been waiting for you to catch up your whole life. You stumble downhill, boots sliding on wet leaves, and suddenly the ground drops out. Not a cliff, something stranger. The forest opens. You skid to a stop at the edge of a valley that shouldn't exist. Sunlight pours down at an angle that feels deliberate, cutting through the canopy and settling on a single structure tucked against the far slope. A cabin, old, hand-built, smoke-darkened logs stacked with care that borders on reverence. Your heart pounds so hard you can feel it in your teeth. The dog stands at the bottom of the slope now, waiting. He looks back at you, eyes bright, intelligent, expectant, as if to say, "You finally made it." You don't see the guitars yet. You don't know about the man who vanished. You don't understand why your hands that haven't held anything but disappointment for years, are about to change the course of your life. All you know is this: you bought this dog for $5 because he was starving, and somehow he's just led you to something worth more than you ever dreamed of losing. 3 days earlier, you were broke in a way that feels personal, not dramatic movie broke, not the kind where someone swoops in with an offer. This was the quiet, humiliating kind. The kind where you count quarters at a gas station and still come up short. The kind where your guitar case stays shut because playing reminds you of who you used to be. You were driving through the Appalachian backroads because you didn't have anywhere else to go. Your last gig had paid in beer and apologies. Your phone showed 1 bar of service and 0 missed calls. That's when you saw the sign. Yard sale, hand-painted, crooked arrow. You don't even slow down at first. Then the engine coughs. A dry warning sound, and you ease onto the gravel shoulder out of habit more than intention. The yard sale is barely a yard, just a patch of dirt beside a collapsing farmhouse, its porch sagging like tired shoulders. A few rusted tools, mason jars. A box of vinyl records warped by heat and neglect. And the dog. He's tied to a porch post with a frayed rope, too thin, ribs sharp under dull black and white fur. His eyes lock onto you the second you step out of the car, not pleading, studying. You crouch without thinking, your knees pop. "Hey, buddy," you murmur. His ears tilt forward. He doesn't bark, doesn't whine. He just watches you like he's weighing something important. The man running the sale shuffles out onto the porch. He smells like tobacco and old rain. $5, he says, nodding at the dog. "Ain't got time for him no more." You laugh once, short and humorless. "I don't even got $5. The man shrugs, turns away. "Conversation over. You reach into your pocket anyway. Feel coins." A crumpled bill. You count twice, just to be sure. $5, exactly. Your throat goes tight, not from sentiment, but from the absurdity of it. This is what your life has come to, choosing between gas money and a starving dog. The dog stands when you do, steps closer as far as the rope allows. His tail gives one careful wag. You hand over the money before you can think better of it. The rope comes off. The dog doesn't bolt. He sits right at your side. Like this was always the plan. You name him Finn because it's the first thing that comes to mind, and he accepts it without ceremony. That night, you share the last of your food. He eats slow, controlled, like he's learned not to trust abundance. You sleep in the car. He keeps watch, head up, ears twitching at every sound the woods make. By morning, the road calls again. Or maybe you just don't know how to stop moving. You end up hiking because Finn keeps tugging toward the tree line, nose high, body alive in a way it wasn't the day before. You follow because you have nothing better to do. The trail fades fast. The woods thicken. Your phone loses signal entirely. Finn freezes, then bolts. That's when you run, and that's how you end up standing at the edge of a hidden valley, staring at a cabin no map remembers. Finn barks once, sharp, urgent. Then he turns and trots toward the cabin door. You follow, heart hammering, unaware that this is the last moment of your old life. You stop at the cabin door because your body tells you to, not fear exactly, something older. A hesitation that settles into your joints like a warning learned long before words. Finn doesn't hesitate. He sits at the threshold, tail still, gaze fixed on the door as if it might breathe. His nose lifts, drops, lifts again. He makes a low sound in his throat, not a growl, not a whine, recognition. The door is rough beneath your palm, hand-hewn planks, grooves worn smooth by time and weather, and something else, use. The iron latch is cold, even in the sun. When you lift it, The sound snaps through the valley like a broken string. Inside, the air changes. It smells like wood shavings and oil, old varnish, dust warmed by sunlight. Not decay, preservation. Your eyes take a moment to adjust. Light leaks through thin cracks in the walls, narrow blades that cut through floating dust. The particles drift slow, deliberate, like they're part of a ritual you're late to. Then you see them. The guitars line the far wall on wooden racks. They're shaped unmistakable even in shadow. Curves and necks and headstocks, dozens of them, maybe more, each one different. Each one alive in a way cheap factory instruments never are. Your fingers curl without permission. Muscle memory. No, you whisper because the word comes easier than belief. Finn steps inside and stops beside you. His shoulder presses against your leg. Grounding! You move closer. The floorboards complain under your weight, but they hold. You reach out, stopping inches from the nearest instrument. The finish glows where the light hits it, honey deep and flawless. The grain isn't just visible, it's intentional, like the wood was listened to before it was cut. You don't touch it. You've learned what happens when you touch things you can't afford. A workbench sits in the center of the room. Tools hang above it in careful order. Chisels, planes, clamps, calipers. Each one cleaned, each one returned to its place. A half-carved neck rests in a vise, frozen mid-curve, waiting. Waiting for what? Or who? Your pack hits the floor softly. You don't remember taking it off. Finn noses it once, then turns toward the back of the cabin. He stops in front of a narrow door you hadn't noticed. Looks back at you. You shake your head. I'm not! Finn sits. The silence presses in. You cross the room and open the door. The back room is smaller, tighter, the light dimmer, a cot against the wall, a small wood stove, shelves stacked with notebooks, dozens of them, their spines cracked, pages swollen with age. On the cot lies a blanket, folded, neat, final. Something loosens in your chest, slow and painful. You pick up the nearest notebook. The cover is leather, darkened by years of handling. Inside, the handwriting is precise but alive, slanted slightly, like the writer leaned into his thoughts. Measurements, sketches, notes in the margins, not just how to build a guitar, but why. You sit on the edge of the cot without realizing it. The wood creaks beneath you. Finn lies down at your feet, head on his paws, eyes never leaving your face. You flip pages. Dates stop about 20 years ago. The last entry is shorter, messier. If someone finds this, it begins. Your pulse stumbles. You didn't get here by accident. The words feel aimed, personal. You swallow and keep reading. The writer talks about sound like it's a living thing. About wood remembering the wind that shaped it. About hands, the right hands being more important than talent or ambition. At the bottom of the page, there's a name. You recognize it instantly. He was a legend once, a recluse luthier whose instruments were whispered about in green rooms and forums, guitars that never stayed on the market long enough for normal people to touch. Then one day, he vanished. No obituary, no farewell, just gone. You close the notebook slowly. Finn, you murmur, and the dog's ears flick. What did you bring me to? Finn doesn't move, but his tail thumps once. Solid, certain. You spend the rest of the day in a daze. You check the perimeter. No locks, no alarms, just isolation. The valley walls rise steep and green on all sides, shielding the cabin from the world. No road, no path you can see. You eat sparingly. Drink from a stream that runs clear and cold nearby. Finn drinks too, then trots back to the cabin like it's home. As evening settles, the light shifts. The dust motes burn gold, then fade. Shadows stretch long fingers across the floor. You sit at the workbench. Not to build, just to exist near it. Your guitar case rests against the wall where you set it without thinking. The cheap laminate looks wrong here, out of place. You open it anyway. The guitar inside has been with you longer than most people. Its finish is chipped, the frets worn. You lift it onto your knee and strum once. The sound is thin, honest, tired. Finn lifts his head. You play anyway. Slow. Careful, you let the notes fall where they may. The cabin listens. The walls hold the sound differently, warmer, deeper. The space answers you back. Your hands remember things your life tried to bury. When you stop, the silence feels earned. You don't sleep much that night. The cot is narrow but solid. Finn curls against it, one paw touching the frame like he's anchoring you. Every sound wakes you. The wind, a branch shifting, something distant you can't place. Just before dawn, you hear it clearly. Footsteps. Your eyes snap open. Finn is already standing, body tense, ears forward. He doesn't bark. He moves to the door and waits. You sit up slowly, heart drumming. The steps stop outside. A pause, then a voice. Old, rough. You weren't supposed to find this place alone. Finn looks back at you. Not afraid. Expectant. You swing your feet to the floor and stand, every instinct screaming and pulling you forward at the same time. You don't reach for anything that could be called a weapon. There's nothing in reach that wouldn't feel ridiculous anyway. A clamp, a chisel, a notebook full of dead men's handwriting. Instead, you take one step toward the door. The floorboard answers with a long, complaining groan. Outside, the unseen presence shifts its weight. Gravel crunches. The sound lands heavy in your gut. Finn moves in front of you. Not aggressive, just placed there, deliberate like a line drawn in chalk. His back is straight, his tail low, every muscle awake. You ease the door open. The man standing there looks like the woods tried to keep him and failed. Gray beard, uneven, as if he trims it with whatever's handy. A jacket patched so many times it's hard to tell what the original fabric was. His eyes, though, sharp, alert. They flick past you into the cabin and linger there longer than manners allow. "So," he says, "it's still breathing. You don't answer." Words haven't decided if they trust him yet. He notices Finn then. The dog's gaze never leaves his face. The man exhales slowly, like someone letting go of a held note. "Well, I'll be damned," he murmurs. "You came back, boy." Finn's ears twitch. He steps forward once, stops. "You know him?" you ask. The question scrapes out of you rougher than intended. The man nods toward the valley behind him. Knew the other one better. He waits for an invitation you don't give. After a moment, he steps inside anyway, boots heavy on the floor. He moves like someone who's been here before, navigating without looking. He doesn't touch anything. He doesn't need to. He called this place a church once, the man says. Said sound was the only god that ever answered him. Your fingers curl. You knew the luthier. Knew of him. That's not the same thing. He turns to you, then really looks. His eyes drop to your guitar case, then to your hands. He studies them like a mechanic studies an engine, searching for telltale signs of abuse, neglect, care. "Did the dog choose you?" he asks. "Or did you choose him?" The question lands sideways. You glance at Finn. He looks back, steady. "I paid $5, you say." The man's mouth twitches. "Cheap then, for both of you." He introduces himself as Caleb, a caretaker of sorts. Not officially, just someone who checked on the valley when he could. Left supplies, kept the trail from vanishing completely. He didn't trust banks or people, Caleb says, running a hand over the workbench without touching it. Trusted wood. Trusted the dog. "Why disappear?" you ask. Caleb shrugs. "Some folks fade, some step sideways." He gestures toward the notebooks. He was waiting. Wrote about it for years. Said when the right hands came, Finn would know. As if summoned by his name, Finn pads over to the workbench and sits. His eyes flick to the half-carved neck, then back to you. A pulse of something unfamiliar runs through you. Not excitement. Responsibility. Caleb watches it cross your face. "You play," he says, not a question. You nod once. "Build?" A pause. You shake your head. "Never had the chance." That's what he said too. Caleb spends the morning telling you pieces, never the whole story. Just fragments, how collectors used to hike for days hoping to catch a glimpse, how musicians would wait years for an instrument that might never come, how the luthier turned most of them away. He wasn't hoarding, Caleb says. He was teaching the wood to wait. When Caleb leaves, the silence settles differently. He promises to come back in a few days. Leaves you with supplies and a look that says more than words bother to try. You stand in the doorway long after he's gone. The valley hums. Birds call. Wind moves through leaves like fingers over strings. Finn nudges your knee. "All right," you whisper. You start small. You clean. You read. You run your hands over tools like they might bite if startled. Finn follows, lies where he can see you. When you grow frustrated, he rises and places himself squarely in your path, forcing stillness. Days pass, maybe weeks. Time thins here. Your hands learn again. Not music yet. Shape, pressure, listening. You ruin pieces of wood. You curse softly. You breathe through it. One afternoon, as rain drums on the roof, you take the cheap guitar from its case and compare it to one on the rack. The difference is almost cruel. You pick up a plane, adjust it, set it to wood. Finn watches. The first curl peels away clean and pale. The sound it makes, soft, satisfying, settles something deep in you. You don't realize you're smiling until Finn's tail starts thumping. Outside, thunder rolls through the valley like distant applause. You don't know it yet, but this is the moment everything tilts. Because you aren't just learning how to build an instrument, you're learning how to stay. The first guitar you ruin teaches you more than any book ever could. The crack sounds like a gunshot in the quiet cabin. Sharp, final. Your hands freeze mid-motion, the chisel still pressed against the spruce top. For a second, you don't breathe at all. You just stare at the split racing along the grain, watching weeks of careful effort fall apart in a single, careless angle. Finn reacts before you do. He's at your side instantly, nose touching your knee, then your wrist, grounding you in the present. Not alarmed, just there. You lower the chisel, set it down like it might shatter if you don't. Your shoulders sag forward, spine folding in on itself. So that's it, you murmur. The words barely exist. Finn sits, his head tilts, he waits. You expect anger or despair, or that familiar hollow feeling, the one that used to arrive after every failed audition, every empty room, every promise music never kept. Instead, something quieter settles in. You pick up the broken top and turn it slowly in your hands. The crack follows the grain perfectly. Too perfectly. Too dry, you whisper. The realization doesn't come with drama. It arrives the way truth usually does, obvious only after you've missed it. You glance at the shelves, at the stacked wood, at the notes scrawled in the margins of the notebooks you've been reading every night by lantern light. Listen before you cut. Wood tells you when it's ready. Finn's tail taps the floor once, soft as punctuation. You don't throw the ruined piece away. You set it aside, labeled like a lesson you'll come back to. Then you open another notebook. This one is different, thinner. The handwriting inside is shakier, as if the man who wrote it knew his time was thinning. If you're reading this, it begins. Finn has decided. Your chest tightens, not painfully, but with weight, like something settling into place whether you're ready or not. The entry talks less about instruments and more about people, about apprentices who came for money, about prodigies who couldn't slow down enough to listen, about the loneliness of making something perfect with no one left to give it to. The work needs a steward, the luthier writes, not an owner. You close the book and lean back against the workbench. Dust motes drift through the afternoon light, unhurried. The guitars on the wall seem closer now, less like relics, more like responsibilities. That night, the storm returns. Rain hammers the roof. Wind presses against the walls like it wants inside. The cabin holds. It always has. You lie awake on the cot, staring at the ceiling beams. Finn sleeps on the floor beside you, paws twitching in dreams you don't interrupt. You think about the road, about gigs that went nowhere, about the way you kept moving because standing still felt too much like failing. Here, stillness feels different, earned. The next morning, you wake to sunlight and the smell of wet earth. Finn is already awake, sitting at the door like he's been guarding it all night. You step outside. The valley steams gently, mist lifting in thin veils. Everything feels freshly made. That's when you hear it. Not footsteps this time. Voices, distant, echoing wrong in a place that swallows sound. Finn stiffens. His ears swivel. He looks back at you, then toward the ridge. No, you whisper, though you're not sure what you're refusing. By noon, you can see them. Two figures picking their way down the slope on the far side of the valley. Not lost hikers. Their movements are too deliberate. One of them carries a case-long hard-sided. Your pulse stutters. You retreat into the cabin and close the door softly. The guitars hang silent, watching. You move between them, laying your hands flat against the wood racks like you're asking for patience. Finn positions himself between you and the door. The knock comes anyway. Firm, confident. "Hello!" a voice calls. "Friendly. Too friendly." We heard there was something special out here. You don't answer. Another knock. Louder. "We can make this worth your while." Finn lets out a low sound you've never heard before. Not a threat, a warning. You step forward, heart racing, and open the door just enough to see their faces. Clean boots, clean hands, eyes that slide past you into the cabin the moment they can. Collectors. They smile like men who believe everything has a price. "We've been looking for this place a long time," one of them says. "Didn't expect to find you." You feel it then, the line being drawn. Behind you, the cabin breathes. The guitars wait. Finn stands steady at your side. You realize this isn't just about discovery anymore. It's about defense. You don't invite them in. You don't tell them to leave either. You just stand there in the doorway, one hand on the rough edge of the doorframe, the other hanging uselessly at your side, as if the space itself might decide what happens next. The two men exchange a glance. The one in front, mid-40s, expensive jacket pretending not to be, smiles wider. His teeth are very white. "We're not here to cause trouble," he says, palms out, rehearsed calm. "We just want to talk." Finn shifts. "Just enough." His shoulder brushes your leg, a silent reminder that you're not alone in this standoff. "About what?" you ask. Your voice surprises you. It doesn't shake. The man's eyes flick quick and greedy toward the guitars behind you. He tries to hide it. Fails. "An estate," he says. An unresolved legacy. The second man stays quiet. He's taller. He watches the room like he's counting exits, angles, values. The hard case rests against his leg. "This isn't an estate, you say. It's a workshop." The first man chuckles softly. "Everything's an estate once the owner's gone. Something sharp settles behind your ribs. He didn't go, you say." They both pause, just for a fraction of a second. "Enough. That's open to interpretation," the man replies. "Look, son, we represent clients who would pay extraordinary amounts for instruments like these. More money than you'll ever see sitting out here." Finn lets out a single bark. Loud, sudden. The sound ricochets off the valley walls. The men flinch. Not from fear, from irritation. You smile before you can stop yourself. "We'll give you time," the first man says, smoothing his jacket. Think it over. We'll be back. When? Soon. They turn and walk away without waiting for a response, boots crunching gravel like punctuation marks you didn't agree to. You close the door and lean your forehead against it. The wood is warm from the sun. Your breath fogs briefly in the dim interior. Finn presses his weight into your calf. Steady, solid. Yeah, you murmur. I felt that too. The rest of the day moves strangely, like the cabin has shifted its attention from teaching to watching. You read less, work slower. Every sound outside pulls your focus sharp. That evening you notice something new, or rather, something missing. Finn isn't in the room. At first, you assume he's outside, patrolling the perimeter like he's taken to doing. You step onto the porch and whistle softly. Once, twice, nothing. You call his name. The sound dissolves into the trees. Your chest tightens, not panic yet, but the edge of it. You move faster, circling the cabin, scanning the tree line. The valley looks the same. Too calm. Finn? No answer. You follow the slope down toward the stream, heart beginning to pound harder with every unanswered call. The ground is soft from recent rain. You spot his tracks easily at first, then they vanish into a mess of overlapping footprints. Human. Booted. The collectors. The realization lands heavy. Not loud. Just devastating. You. Run. Branches tear at your arms again, familiar now. The woods close in. You follow broken twigs, scuffed earth, signs. Only desperation sharpens your eyes enough to read. The trail leads to the old mining road, half collapsed, barely visible beneath moss and thyme. And there, tied loosely to a rusted signpost, is Finn. He's standing, unhurt, watching the woods with focused calm, like he's been waiting for you exactly where he meant to be. You drop to your knees in front of him, hands gripping his collar. Your fingers tremble, not from weakness, but from the release of something you didn't realize you were holding back. They wanted you gone, you whisper, didn't they? Finn licks your wrist once, then looks past you, back toward the cabin. He pulls gently against the rope. Not to flee, to lead, you understand. This wasn't a threat. It was a message. Back at the cabin, night falls hard and fast. You light the lanterns. Shadows leap across the walls, stretching guitar necks into long, watchful silhouettes. You open another notebook, deeper this time, older. Inside, you find diagrams, not of instruments but of sound, of resonance chambers built into walls, of rooms shaped to listen. And tucked into the back, folded carefully, a letter, addressed not to a name but to a question, to the one who stayed. Your hands still as you read. If they come, they will try to take what they don't understand. Don't fight them with money, fight them with time. Let the work speak where words fail. You look up slowly at the guitars, at the half-built neck on the bench, at Finn, sitting squarely beside you, eyes bright in lantern light. The mystery deepens, not of what this place is, but of what it expects from you. And for the first time, you realize leaving was never an option. Time stops behaving the way you're used to. Days don't line up anymore. They layer. One long stretch of work, interrupted only by sleep and the slow, deliberate passing of light across the cabin walls. You stop counting how many times the sun rises through the eastern cracks and sets behind the ridge. The valley keeps its own calendar. You follow it. The letter's words stay with you. Let the work speak, not sell, not impress. Speak. You stop thinking about guitars as objects. You start thinking about them as conversations. Each piece of wood asks a different question. Each one demands a different answer from your hands. Finn becomes part of the rhythm. He wakes when you wake, sleeps when you finally give in to exhaustion. When you push too hard, he interrupts, placing his body between you and the bench, forcing you to pause, to breathe, to listen again. The first instrument you complete isn't perfect. The binding is uneven in one place. The finish is thinner than it should be near the lower bout. You see every flaw immediately the way musicians always do, but when you string it up and strike the first chord, the sound fills the cabin in a way that makes your knees weaken. It's warm, deep, honest. The notes don't shout, they linger. You sit there for a long time afterward, guitar resting against your chest, feeling the vibration fade slowly into silence. Finn lies at your feet, eyes closed, tail still. You don't celebrate. You don't smile. You just nod once like someone acknowledging a truth that's been waiting patiently. That night, you hear engines, not close, but close enough. The sound crawls through the valley after dark, wrong and intrusive, bouncing off the slopes. Headlights flicker briefly through the trees like distant lightning. Finn is on his feet instantly, hackles raised. His gaze locks toward the ridge where the old mining road disappears into forest. "They're back," you whisper. "You don't turn on the lanterns. You don't make a sound." You sit in the dark with the finished guitar across your lap, one hand resting lightly on the strings like you might quiet them if they try to speak at the wrong time. The engines cut, voices drift faintly through the trees. Laughter, Confidence, the sound of men who believe they've already won. Your mouth goes dry. You think about running, about grabbing what you can and vanishing into the woods before morning. The instinct is sharp, practiced, familiar. Finn looks at you, not pleading, not fearful, waiting. The collectors don't reach the cabin that night. They circle the valley instead, marking, measuring. You feel it in your bones. By morning, the quiet is heavier than fear. You find the sign nailed to a tree at the edge of the clearing. Fresh wood, fresh ink, notice of claim. Private property. Your name isn't on it. Neither is the Luthiers. Just a company you don't recognize and a date that's far too soon. Your hands curl into fists. Then slowly relax. You sit on the porch steps with Finn beside you and stare at the valley until your eyes ache. They can take it, you say quietly. Everything. The cabin, the tools. Finn's ears flick back. He watches you closely. They can't take what I don't give them, you add. The plan comes together the way songs sometimes do. Not all at once, piece by piece. You carry the finished guitar up the ridge to the highest point overlooking the valley. You sit on a rock smoothed by decades of weather and play as the sun sets. The sound travels differently out here. Freer, it rolls down into the trees, into the cabin, into the places. Maps forgot. You don't play for skill, you play for truth. The next day, Caleb returns. He takes one look at the sign and swears under his breath. They've been waiting for this, he says. For someone to surface. You hand him the guitar. Take it, you say. Play it for anyone who'll listen. Caleb hesitates. This thing's worth, I know. He studies your face, then the instrument. His hands shake slightly when he strums the first chord. His eyes go wet, fast, and unexpected. They'll hear this, he says softly. When he leaves, the cabin feels emptier than it ever has. Night falls again. Storm clouds gather. The wind rises, pressing against the walls harder this time, testing. You lie awake, staring into the dark. Finn rests his head against the cot, breathing slow and steady. For the first time since you arrived, doubt creeps in. What if this isn't enough? What if sound can't fight money? What if kindness was never currency, just a delay? Thunder cracks overhead. The lights flicker, then go out completely. The cabin plunges into darkness. Finn lifts his head. A low whine escapes his throat, uneasy. You sit up as rain starts hammering the roof like thrown gravel. Water leaks through a seam you hadn't noticed before, dripping onto the floor near the workbench. The storm intensifies. Wind howls through the valley, a long, aching note that sounds almost like grief. You hold Finn close, one hand buried in his fur, the other pressed flat against the floor to feel the cabin vibrate beneath you. For the first time since you stepped into this hidden place, you're not sure it will survive the night. Morning arrives the way apologies sometimes do. Quiet, tentative, unsure if it's welcome. You wake on the floor, not the cot. Your back aches. Your jaw is tight from clenching through the night. The storm has moved on, leaving the valley soaked and steaming, the air heavy with the smell of split wood and wet earth. Finn is standing over you, nose inches from your face. His eyes search yours, alert, counting. I'm up, you murmur. Your voice sounds borrowed. You push yourself upright and scan the cabin. Water has pooled near the workbench, darkening the floorboards. A thin crack snakes down the far wall where the wind forced its way in. The guitars still hang where they were, unmoved, patient. The cabin held. Barely. Outside, the valley looks scrubbed raw. Leaves plastered to stone, branches scattered like dropped matchsticks. The mining road along the ridge is clearer now, rain stripping away years of cover. Clear enough for trucks. Finn follows you as you walk the perimeter, his movements tight, purposeful. He stops at the tree with the posted notice and stares at it, head tilted, as if trying to understand how paper thinks it has authority here. You tear the sign down. The staple rips bark with it. Sap beads up, bright and sticky. Sorry, you whisper to the tree, then freeze. Sound carries strangely after a storm. From far off, too far to place, exactly. You hear it, a chord, then another, hesitant, searching. Your breath stalls. Someone is playing. You turn toward the ridge. Finn is already moving, trotting ahead, glancing back to make sure you follow. You climb fast, boots slipping on wet stone, lungs burning again in that familiar, relentless way. At the overlook, you see them. 3 people now! One with a guitar case open at his feet. Caleb stands a few yards away, arms crossed, watching like a man guarding a match in high wind. The player strikes another chord. It rings wrong. Not bad, just incomplete. You step forward before you think better of it. Try again, you call. They all turn. Surprise flashes across faces you don't recognize. Not collectors this time. Musicians. You can tell by how they hold themselves, how they listen even when they're not playing. The guitarist frowns slightly, then nods. He adjusts his grip and plays again. Slower! More careful. The sound opens up. The valley answers. The notes roll outward, folding into the landscape, filling spaces you didn't know were hollow. The player's eyes widen. He stops abruptly. "What is this place?" he asks. You don't answer with words. You step closer, take the guitar gently from his hands, and play the same progression you played the night before. Not flash, not speed, just honesty. The instrument hums against your ribs. The sound comes back to you changed, richer, deeper, like it's been held and understood before being returned. Silence follows, heavy, charged. One of the musicians exhales slowly. "That guitar," Caleb clears his throat, "built up here by someone who knew what he was doing." You hand the instrument back. "Your hands feel steady now, anchored." "They're trying to take this place," you say. You keep your tone level, factual. "I don't have money to fight them." The guitarist looks down at the instrument again. "You won't need it." Word spreads the way sound does. Not all at once. In vibrations, resonance. Musicians talk. They share clips, short recordings made on phones that don't capture half of what's happening, but enough. Enough to raise questions. By afternoon, more people arrive. Not crowds, just the right ones. Players, builders, listeners. They stand in the valley with reverence, voices low, movements careful, like they've stumbled into a sanctuary by accident. Finn weaves among them, calm but vigilant, a quiet conductor guiding the flow. When someone steps too close to the cabin with the wrong kind of hunger in their eyes, Finn positions himself squarely in their path. They always stop. Engines return near sunset. The collectors crest the ridge in two black vehicles, confidence polished and ready. They slow when they see the people gathered below. They stop entirely when they hear the music. "You don't approach them!" You sit on the porch steps with Finn at your side and play. Others join in, fiddles, a mandolin, soft percussion tapped on knees. The valley fills with layered sound, imperfect and alive. The collectors step out of their vehicles. They don't smile this time. Phones come out. Whispers pass between them. They can't buy this. They can't own this. They can't silence it without being seen. The man with the white teeth meets your gaze across the clearing. His jaw tightens. He nods once, not in respect, but in calculation. This isn't over, but it's changed. As the last light drains from the sky, Finn leans into you, solid and warm. The music fades slowly, willingly, leaving behind a silence that feels full instead of empty. For the first time since the storm, you believe the cabin might survive what's coming. And you understand now. The darkest night didn't break this place. It tuned it. The truth doesn't arrive with a spotlight. It comes the way sound does, through layers, through vibration, through the spaces you didn't realize were hollow until something filled them. The valley is quiet the morning after the gathering, not empty, resting. The kind of silence that follows music when the air itself seems reluctant to move on. You wake early. Finn is already outside, sitting at the edge of the clearing, watching the ridge like a sentinel who never clocks out. People linger, a few tents, a few vans pulled off the mining road. No one enters the cabin without asking. No one touches the instruments without permission, not because you told them not to, but because the place asks it of them. Caleb returns before noon, breathless in a way you've never seen him. He doesn't bother with greetings. He holds up a folded document like it might evaporate if exposed to too much air. "They found it," he says. You feel the weight of the words before you understand them. "Found what?" "The recording." He spreads the papers across the workbench, careful not to disturb the tools. "There's an old letterhead at the top, a legal seal at the bottom, dates that make your pulse quicken." "The Luthor didn't vanish," Caleb says quietly. "He filed, years ago, quietly." A trust. You stare at the words, letting them arrange themselves into meaning. The cabin, the land, the instruments, all of it placed into something called the Listening Trust. Beneficiary, the first apprentice who completes an instrument here, witnessed. Your mouth goes dry. "There was a second clause," Caleb adds. "One everyone missed." He points to a paragraph halfway down the page. "The companion known as Finn shall serve as witness and arbiter. His presence signifies consent." You look up slowly. Finn has moved inside without you noticing. He sits just beyond the threshold, sunlight outlining his fur, dust drifting around him like something ceremonial. A laugh escapes you. "Not loud, almost broken. He made a dog the gatekeeper." Caleb's eyes soften. "He trusted better than most men I've known." The collectors return that afternoon, not with swagger this time, with lawyers, with documents, with smiles sharpened into something brittle. They stop when they see the trust papers spread across the bench, when they see the people gathered again, when they see Finn sitting squarely at your side like a judge who's already heard enough. "This claim is invalid," the white-toothed man says, though his voice lacks conviction now. "You can't, seriously?" Caleb cuts him off. "Already verified, already recorded. You're late." The man's gaze flicks to you, then to the guitars, then to Finn. Something like disbelief cracks through his expression. "A dog," he says softly. "You meet his eyes. An heirloom," you reply. The lawyers retreat into whispered conferences. Phones come out, calls are made, time stretches thin again, but this time it's not waiting to break you. At sunset, the collectors leave without another word. Engines fade, dust settles, the valley exhales. You sit alone in the cabin afterward, the truth finally heavy enough to feel real. The trust doesn't make you rich overnight. Not in the way people imagine. It gives you something stranger. Time, protection, permission. You open the final notebook you hadn't dared touch before. Inside is a list of names crossed out one by one. At the bottom, a blank space. You write your name there. Finn rests his head on your knee. You scratch behind his ear, and he sighs, deep and content, like a job well done. Later, you hang your first completed guitar on the wall among the others. It doesn't look out of place. It belongs. Sunlight slips through the cracks in the wood, catching on the curves of instruments worth millions, but glowing not with money, with meaning. You understand now. The gold was never hidden. It was waiting for someone who knew how to listen. Fame doesn't arrive with a knock. It seeps. At first, it's just emails forwarded by Caleb because you still don't trust the internet enough to believe it won't steal something from the cabin if you let it. Musicians asking questions that aren't really questions. Builders using careful language, trying not to sound like they're asking for permission. You don't answer most of them. Instead, you wake with the light and work until your hands feel like they've forgotten where they end. You build slowly, intentionally, one instrument at a time. Finn keeps you honest. When you rush, he interrupts. When you hesitate too long, he waits beside the bench until you move again. People start calling the valley the listening place. You never named it. It doesn't need one. Visitors come in ones and twos, never crowds. Word spreads with rules attached, unspoken but firm. No photos inside the cabin, no prices discussed on the porch, no touching without invitation. Most understand immediately. The ones who don't, leave. You play less now, not because you've lost the need, but because the instruments you build ask for the sound instead. You test each one yourself, late at night, lanterns low, Finn asleep with his chin on your foot. You play until the guitar answers back the way it should. Only then do you stop. One afternoon, a woman arrives alone, older, careful in her movements. She carries a case worn smooth by decades of travel. "I don't want to buy anything," she says before you can speak. "I just needed to hear it." You lead her to the ridge, hand her the first guitar you ever finished here. She plays one note, stops, presses her palm flat against the top like she's checking for a pulse. "I thought I'd forgotten why," she whispers. She leaves without asking your name. The collectors try one last time, quietly, through intermediaries, offers wrapped in language like partnership and preservation. You don't respond. The trust does that for you. Money comes anyway. Not fast, not obscene. Enough. Enough to fix the roof properly. Enough to bring in wood that's been waiting decades to be heard. Enough to pay Caleb for his time and fuel and stubborn loyalty. You stay. The valley changes around you, subtly. Trails become visible again, not paved, just remembered. The stream runs clearer where someone has taken the time to move fallen debris. The cabin breathes easier. One evening, you find Finn sitting at the edge of the clearing, staring into the trees. Older now, a little slower when he rises. "You did good," you tell him. "He doesn't look at you." But his tail moves, once, solid as punctuation. You sit beside him and play softly as the sun dips behind the ridge. The sound moves outward, familiar and new at the same time. For the first time in years, you don't feel like you're chasing something. You're keeping it. You choose the morning, not the kind that arrives with announcements or visitors or expectations, the kind that slips in quietly, light threading through the cracks in the cabin like it's been practicing patience all night. The kind Finn prefers. He's slower now. He rises with care, joints negotiating terms with the day. You wait. You've learned how. You open the door and let the valley come to you. Cool air, birds tuning up, the stream clearing its throat. Easy, you tell him, and he is. The bench waits where it always has. Tools hang in their places, edges clean, handles worn to the exact shape of your hands. The guitars on the wall hold their silence without complaint. You run your fingers along one neck as you pass, feeling the smooth certainty of it, then move on. There's a knock at the edge of the clearing. "Not on the door! On the space!" A boy stands there with a case that's too big for him. He's trying not to look like he's trying. His shoes are muddy. His eyes are listening. Caleb lingers a few steps behind, giving you a look that says your call. You nod once. The boy approaches slowly, like the ground might change its mind. He stops where Finn sits, watches the dog watch him, then lowers himself to a crouch without being asked. He doesn't reach out. He waits. Finn sniffs the air, considers, then turns and walks toward the cabin. The boy follows, careful as a held note. You don't speak much that day. You show him how to listen to a piece of wood before it ever touches a blade. You let him ruin a thin strip of spruce and keep it anyway. You show him where the notebooks live and tell him the only rule that matters. If you rush, you say, "This place will let you know." He nods, like that makes sense already. By evening, he leaves with nothing but sawdust on his clothes and a look you recognize. The one you wore when you first understood staying didn't mean failing. After, you sit on the porch steps with Finn and play softly until the light thins and the valley settles into its evening breath. The sound carries. It always does. Weeks pass. Seasons lean. The valley shifts colors, textures, smells. You repair what needs repairing. You refuse what needs refusing. You teach a few. You send many away with kindness intact. Finn ages the way good things do. Gradually, honestly, he naps more, he patrols less, he still places himself between hunger and harm when he needs to, still knows when someone belongs before you do. One afternoon, he doesn't get up. He lies in his patch of sun by the door, breathing slow, eyes half-lidded, the valley reflected in them. You kneel beside him and feel the years in the warmth of his fur, the steady rhythm of his chest. "You can rest," you tell him. "The words don't break. They don't need to." He exhales, long and satisfied, and leans into your hand like punctuation. When he's gone, the cabin doesn't rush to fill the space. Neither do you. You carry him to the ridge at dusk, to the place where sound opens wide and returns changed. You wrap him in the old blanket from the cot, the one folded and waiting when you arrived, and you play until the stars take over the sky. The valley listens. It always has. You mark the place with a simple stone. No name, no dates, just a smooth edge where a hand can rest. After, you build. Not to escape the quiet, to honor it. The first guitar you finish without Finn watching feels different. Not wrong, complete in another way. You hang it on the wall and step back. The rack holds space for it easily, like it's been expecting this shape. You keep the trust intact. You add a line to it, written in your own careful hand. The work passes on. Years later, the boy returns taller, steadier. He brings a guitar that doesn't apologize for itself. He sets it on the bench and waits. You listen, you nod, you step aside. Sunlight threads the cabin. Dust drifts, the tools breathe. At dusk, you walk the valley path alone and play from the ridge. The sound carries down through trees that remember storms and hands and patience. Somewhere below, the cabin answers back. You think about $5, about a rope cut loose, about choosing kindness when it didn't promise anything in return. You smile, not wide, not loud, the kind that stays. The gold was never the instruments, not the land, not the money that learned how to behave. It was the craft passed hand to hand, the listening taught and retaught, the quiet place that remained open because someone stayed. When the night settles, you head back down the slope, lantern swinging, footsteps sure. The cabin door waits. Inside, the bench holds tomorrow without impatience. You set your guitar down. You wash your hands. You leave the door cracked so the valley can breathe with you.